Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our 2023 Greater Hudson Valley Council Popcorn Kickoff. We are so excited to be partnering with Trails End this year, and I think you guys are going to really like what we have in store for you. Lots of great new technology, and I'm really excited. So let's dive into it. But before we get started talking about 2023, I need to say thank you for 2022. These are the top 10 selling scouts that we had last year. Congratulations, Thomas from Troop 3050. That's Dutchess District. He sold almost $8,000 in popcorn, and we're proud of you. It's a great job there, and thank you so much to the other scouts that sold. We had a lot of scouts selling popcorn last year, and we are looking forward to more scouts selling this year. And thank you to the individual units listed there. Top 10 units, Pack 23. That's West Point. Pack 23 sold the most with $20,000 in popcorn. So thank you so much for all your efforts there. And really great job. I know the Pack and Troop 1101s, they sold just over $30,000 together. So really great job, guys. And I can't wait to see what we all can do next year. So why do we sell popcorn? Well, first of all, I can just tell you, as a dad of a Cub Scout that sells popcorn, I sell popcorn to fund her adventure. She is a very energetic Cub Scout that has lots of plans, and we use it to fund everything. We pay for our dues with it. We're paying our Camp Bullowa day camp with our popcorn sale, and really it can be part of that. And there's a resource that we're going to talk about. We have Trails End has an adventure planner that will be on our website, so definitely check that out. Some things that you want to do for popcorn for funding your adventure. Some examples you can plan for is your big Cub Scout or troop events, right? Blue and gold, your campouts. Maybe you're going to the National Jamboree or you're going to Philmont. Anything, maybe you need to raise money for a new troop trailer, and of course, annual dues. What I love about with selling popcorn with my daughter is that she learns a lot of great lessons of hard work, how to earn money and pay for her own way, going up and knocking on the door and talking to people, and learning that salesmanship. Developing people skills, really building character, learning how to speak in public, and the value of a dollar. So it's really great thing that we can do with our scouts through selling popcorn. And of course, the scouts will earn. The scouts will earn and love the rewards. And Connor's going to talk about it in a little bit. But we have our Amazon gift card prize program. And don't forget, if you haven't done so yet, please go ahead and scan this QR code with your phone, and you can go ahead and sign up and get registered into the Trails End system. I know a lot of you have done so already, so that's great. Thank you so much. And this is the first step to getting in the system, and getting signed up to get your unit set up for the fall. So I'm gonna give it one quick second before we move on. Connor, is there anything else you want to point out about the unit commitment tracker?
Guys, that'll be, well, I'll say first off, again, thanks for your time, but you'll have a lot of questions, a lot of cool technology and things that we do to really attempt to make your lives easier, right? Popcorn's not why you join scouting, but it's a part of how we can fund those adventures. And there's a lot of tech and things of that sort that make your life easier and simplify things. You'll have questions, and there's no better answer than getting into the system and being able to do a lot of that stuff yourself and play around. So definitely make sure you use that. Get in tonight. Do that now. We'll take an extra few minutes to be able to scan that from your phone. If you just pull out your camera, usually if you have an iPhone or an Android, just hold it over. You don't actually take the picture, but it'll pop up a little link on the screen, or you can just type in that trails-end.com/unit registration. But that's kind of your home base is from that site, and when you register is where you'll be able to see some of the things that we're talking about tonight and all the things that you'll be able to use throughout the sale. So super crucial that we get in and knock this out early so that you have experience and kind of know what you're looking at when we jump into the sale in a couple months.
Awesome. Thank you, Connor. And before I turn it over to Connor completely, just a reminder, I know some people have joined us since we started. Please, in the chat, list your unit, your unit number, and the community you serve, and all the units that you're representing so you can get that 1% extra sales commission. All right, Connor.
Thanks, John. So let's chat through ways to sell and to kind of maybe give you a frame of reference. What we'll talk about tonight is not necessarily training, right? So you're moving from one vendor to another. And yes, we also popcorn, but obviously we're here to promote scouting and to help earn your way and fundraise those ventures. So in chatting through this, maybe just to clarify, this is not an official training where you're going to go in tonight and learn every single piece about the app or learn how to manage your inventory through the system. All that stuff's great questions, and please write those down as you hear me talk. But we'll have webinars and specific trainings where you can ask live questions and get specific answers. We've got a lot of online resources for that. But tonight is to kind of give you an idea of what's the sale going to look like this year, how's it going to look this year, when, things like that. So we'll go into those. But to start off, nothing's really changed, right? Popcorn is sold three ways traditionally. So you've got your online, you've got your storefront sales, and then you have your wagon front sales. And so as we go through these, the primary that we see taking off and being really successful are storefront sales. But we also see online growing, right? Obviously, with the advent of Amazon, COVID really pushed folks to the online platform with Popcorn and obviously nationwide. But traditionally, storefront wagon sales where you see the bulk of your sales. With Trails In, there's a couple ways that you can sell online. So traditionally, when we offer online direct, we call it, to you, there's two ways you can do that. You can either share your direct link. When I say your direct link, that's a Scout specific link. So that Scout gets credit for that online sale with grandma, grandpa, folks out of state. We've got Scouts that'll do 50 for 50, meaning they'll sell popcorn to one person in every state across the country. So there are different ways you can sell online, but that's the primary, right? Where you're selling online via sharing your sales link through Facebook, text message, email, things of that nature. Additionally, we have an app that's baked into the App Store for Google or Apple, where you can download the app and actually sell as if you're there in person. If you're over at grandma's house and you don't have product with you, you can actually jump into the app, process that online sale, and punch in the address of the customer, and it'll send directly to their house. So a couple cool ways that you can sell online, we call it. But a couple highlights when it comes to online specific. You can record all of your apps in the system or share your online page. And there's no handling of cash in this instance. Obviously, not everyone carries cash anymore. When they do, it's great. But if they don't, we don't want that to be a barrier to entry for the sale. Our average online orders for your online are about $65. So when somebody goes online and they're purchasing and supporting that Scout, it's about $65 per order. Now, one thing that we really want to make sure that we're staying true to is, I know there have been challenges with online sales. There's the idea of the shipping and the challenge with freight and the advent of inflation and COVID. But past that, we want to make sure that we're advertising and using pricing that's as similar to your council as possible. Now, every council chooses pricing. Those are separate. Per council, that is a council decision. But we want to make sure we're as close to that and not pricing something that's significantly higher than if you just bought it in person, right? And so we'll have more information as we get into the sale of what your online looks like, but we want to make sure that those are as line and in tandem as possible. So with that, we sell online year round, and depending on your threshold, oftentimes shipping is free, and we'll have more information as we get closer to the sale and we can forecast what shipping and freight charges look like. We'll have an exact number for you on that. Now that's online, right? That's a great supplement to your sales, but we don't want online to cannibalize your traditional sales either, right? Storefront sales, wagon sales, That's going to be bread and butter. That's been traditionally where most of the popcorn sale comes from. A couple years excluded from COVID there. But storefront sales, we call that storefront or show and sell or person to person, face to face. That's when you're there with product in hand, typically static at a single location where you're not going door to door, right? So we call those storefront sales, and we want to help leverage that high volume of foot traffic at your locations to make sure you're capitalizing and fundraising effectively and saving time in that manner. So what that means for you, there's a couple specifics and opportunities that you'll have that Greater Hudson Valley has been able to offer through Trails In, which include us helping book some of your big box store locations, big retail locations that we have relationships with, and help book hours where all you have to do is get into the unit leader platform and hit reserve. Simple as that. So it takes out the step of you having to go out of your way and call some of these maybe larger national locations or retailers. Our average online sale is $150 an hour. So sales per hour range anywhere from right about $150 to we've had locations that are up to $600 an hour. So really, really exciting stuff and ways that we can measure that because of the tech and ways to help maybe guide you to say this is a good location and we're booking this location because we're confident that you'll see a good use of your time there. So really exciting stuff. We have different ways to manage your storefront shifts. So you might have used a Sign Up Genius or a different platform to register for the sale in the past, and then to also manage your own storefronts where you're booking, you're using Excel, a notepad, your iCloud notes, different things of that nature. Built into our platform for unit leaders, we actually give you a whole platform where you can go in and add locations. It's all linked to Google, so you can punch in addresses, add how many scouts you want at that location, things like that. So a lot of cool stuff. And we won't get into the weeds of it, but a lot of really cool stuff that's been thought out and done in tandem with responses from volunteers. This isn't just Trails In thinking that's a good idea. We talk to unit leaders to make sure that's the direction that they want to go. So a lot of cool stuff in the realm of storefronts and how we do that. We see that as being a really big benefit and a way to help kind of trim some of the fat, so to speak, to make life a little bit easier and quicker and more effective for you. But wagon sales has been was kind of the origination of the popcorn sale. Trails In, believe it or not, was and is the original popcorn vendor. So over 40 years ago, back in the early 80s, there were two options for the fundraiser, which actually started out of a small town in Indiana, which is where our headquarters is. And the options were either tube socks or popcorn. And thank the Lord that we're not still selling tube socks. So interesting with popcorn, we have been in the sale for a long time. And although we're kind of the maybe origin or traditional company, we do a lot of things to try to help push the sale forward in ways that make it more effective for you. But wagon sales, to get back to the point of it, has been the original sales platform, right? And so wagon sales, although maybe have been declining slightly, are still really, really popular in a really effective way to bring your product with you. And there are a lot of things through the technology, through the Scout app that you can download through your phone or tablet, make life easier in ways that you can take a lot of that down without having to have paper with you. So those are your ways to sell. And there are a lot of good pieces that we try to assist with in the technology to make that easier for you. So to make your sale easy, I've kind of alluded to, maybe danced around some technology that we have. So there are a couple things that we offer to you as volunteers and to your youth. There's the Trails In app, that's for the scouts. And then there's the unit leader portal, that is for your unit leaders. Now with the Trails In app, this is again an actual app available through the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. You log in and you'll have the option to create a Scout account, which you can do as a Scout or as the parent of the Scout. And from there, this kind of acts as if you've ever gone to a farmer's market or a local business that uses Square and has that technology, either they've maybe got a specific Square tablet, right, or a whole POS, a point of sale system. They've got the whole setup. We've kind of streamlined that to make it a little bit easier for you. So I'm sure some of you are familiar and have used Square before. we integrated Square and Work and partnered with Square to offer their credit card transaction process directly integrated through our app. So that doesn't mean you have to go scan and swipe through Square and then jump back to the app. It's all built in. It's one. And so as you use Square readers, or you punch in the card manually, or use the Bluetooth and you can do Apple Pay and Samsung Pay, all that stuff, all of those are recorded through our system. And that's kind of the bulk of what the app is it primarily acts as a point of sale system, but it's also where a scout can see if they're eligible to sign up for a storefront. If a unit leader has registered for a storefront, the scout can go in and see that that's something they can sign up for and register for that. Makes your life easier as a unit leader because you can see that they registered for that in your unit leader portal. From there, you can also track progress for your goals. We do some cool stuff when it comes to a delineation with showing and kind of allowing some competitiveness between scouts and youth, where you can see what you rank in your unit. You can see how you rank in your council. You can see how you rank nationally. So some really cool stuff there that we want to give visibility on because we have the data and the tech. We allow you to record deliveries. So there's a feature where you can go in and record that the delivery was made through Wagon Sale, or you can mark it as still waiting on the product, right? If you're ordering the product at the end of the year and then you go to deliver, you can log that, you can log addresses, you can log customer information from there in lieu of or instead of using the paper forms. And then obviously you've got the option to share your sales page online. You can record sales and order product, or we ship it directly to the customer online like we talked about. And then you can claim rewards as a scout there and see your reward progress as well. So that's the Scout app. That's the Trails and Scout app. So some specific maybe information between the two. Typically parents and scouts are the ones that'll be interacting with the TE app, or the Trails End app, the Popcorn app, the Scout app, and that's on the phone. The unit leader portal, that's awesome, and it's a full-fledged dashboard where you have access to everything about your sale. There are lots of things that maybe in the past you've had to use or wait on council to get back to you on because they have to approve X, Y, or Z. And as much as I'm sure they love doing that, we want to make sure that we're giving you time back in your day and making you effective to manage your sale in a way that's conducive to quicker fundraising too, right? So the unit leader portal, the ULP, unit leader portal is available on dashboard through a computer. You can use aspects of it on your phone as well. It is mobile friendly. And as a unit leader, if you've used the tech before, a few years back, we did work with you, and that was the infancy of our tech. And although we're not perfect, we're far from it, we've grown. There's been really impressive and good progress with the portal itself, right? And so as we continue to iterate and grow, it gets better and better every day. But we've changed since last, and I'm sure there'll be some new features in there that you veterans have seen before, or that have maybe been iterated, or new things that are brand new to you as well. So as we look to, man, I wonder what that looks like, I'll plug again, you got to register. You got to get in and go to trails-in.com/unit leader registration, and we can post that in the chat. I think it already is in there. But you've got to register. That's where you can have access to all of the stuff that I'm throwing at you today. And I'll throw the kitchen sink at you, but we'll have more trainings where you can see kind of what we're talking about and talking through. But the unit leader portal is your dashboard. That's your hub. That's where you manage everything. You can see scout roster. You can see your inventory. You can see your invoicing. All that's automated, a lot easier to use. We have reports that you can run. You can see who's working what shifts. You can see how much inventory you burn through. All of those are auto-generated. And we love the Excel, folks. I'm a numbers geek, and so I like Excel a lot. A lot of the stuff I do is still through Excel, so we've done a lot of things like make it easy to export that, and it creates those files automatically for you. But as we get into what we're talking about, just remember the differentiation between the Trails and Scout app. That's where scouts and parents go, and the unit leader portal is for you, unit leader. So credit cards. That's a huge part of today's world. So with the sale, our credit card usage is about 55%. And so some of you may have used credit card processors in the past where they charge you a percentage and then you have to give that up for the sale. Or you didn't offer credit card and you had folks come by and say, shoot, I'd love to support your scout, but I don't have any cash on me. We understand there's a value add there. And so Trails End covers the cost and pays for the credit card processing and for the relationship with Square. And so we cover all of those fees. That means whenever you process your payment for Popcorn in the Trailsend app, that all is covered by us. Now, with credit cards, there's a couple really cool benefits. So traditionally, average orders, and this is something that you might not think through, but because we have the data, we can see a lot of cool information. Average orders ranged in 2022 roughly $25. With credit cards, the average is about $32. So a really nice difference in what folks are willing to spend and willing to support with when they're supporting a Scout. When it comes to benefits of the credit card itself, obviously there's the aspect of cash and safety, right? We want to make sure that as the cash transactions come in, that you don't have Scouts that are holding thousands and thousands of dollars in cash. That's a good problem, right? But one we'd like to avoid if we can, and through tech, some of that is avoidable. We offer extra reward points when somebody takes a transaction or sells popcorn with credit card. So we want to try to help incentivize Scouts to use that platform. Now, we work with Square, and so obviously you can use the Square readers, that's Apple, or you can use the built-in headphone jack or the Bluetooth one, so you can do Apple Pay or Samsung Pay. But we also allow you to share your transaction where the customer can actually punch it in on their side for folks that are still maybe sensitive to COVID, right, specifically, or you can punch in the transaction manually, so just punch it in with the code itself. But a lot of cool things that we do there. Another feature that doesn't get used probably as much as it should, because unit leaders just don't know about it and parents don't know about it. When you've got a parent that's using the take order form and they're going door to door doing wagon sales, they're collecting cash, right? Payments are coming in and they'll go and deliver the product at some point. You end up with the challenge of you're getting hunted down by the parent so they can give you the cash, but more realistically, you're probably hunting them down to try to figure that transaction out, right? You don't want that cash to be floating, maybe some risk involved there, just want to make it simple and to get that taken care of. We offer through the app and through the unit leader portal, the parent to have an option where they can click pay now. So say a parent logs $500 in cash transactions through the app, they can actually go in as a parent. Now follow me here. They go in as a parent and they can click pay now, where they'll pay $500 on their credit card to you, the unit leader, and they get their Marriott rewards or their Costco or your Apple Pay extra couple point percentage, where they get a few bonus points, and then they get to keep the cash. So they're not out any money. And then you get the cash faster, they actually get the bonus benefit of the credit card points. So some cool stuff that we want to do there. And a lot of those little things are what we do to help iterate and make the sale slightly faster, and one faster and another add up to making it a little bit quicker for you. So a lot of cool things that we do with credit card, but our focus is how do we make it more efficient and safer and a better transaction process. We've seen a lot of success with credit cards as a whole. So let's talk about tips and objectives for a successful sale. With a successful sale comes prep, right? That's what I do in the spring. I'm the popcorn guy. What the heck do I do all year? Really, John and I sit down and we order popcorn in the fall, but man, there's a lot of other random, small, minor stuff that I do in the spring, and a lot of big things that we do to prep to make sure that we can provide units with a successful fall campaign, right? We want to make sure we've got the product there on time. We know what mix rate we've got, a lot of things of that nature. And I don't need to preach to the choir, but a lot of that comes down to unit leader prep as well. So there are a lot of trainings that we'll offer in you as new unit leaders to Trailsend, whether or not this is your first year as a unit leader or you've been doing this for a while, you're a veteran, you're new to Trailsend at some point, and the stuff that we want to teach you revolves around selling techniques, technology, and some of our specific programs that you'll have access to. So there'll be specific webinars like we kind of alluded to. John will give you more information on that as those come out, but those are where you'll be able to see specific information on the unit leader portal. You can ask questions live about the app, things like that, and we can hit maybe on some brief stuff related to that tonight, but that's where a lot of those questions and answers will come from. I'm definitely a more hands-on kind of have to do it, and I write stuff on a whiteboard. I'll do my best, but I'm hands-on in the way I learn. And so a lot of my recommendation is register, get into the system, and try it. And so you're not going to break anything. We can always undo if we need to. But that's where you realistically would want to go to see what the heck the unit leader portal is and how do I use it? What does it look like? What is this guy on the screen talking about? Additionally, you can add the Trails In app on your phone and actually register for that. Get one of your scouts to register for it, or you can make we call it a test scout where you can go in and see what that looks like as a user of the app. So a lot of that stuff, I really encourage you. You're not going to hurt me. Break it. I'd rather you break it than not use it at all. So try it. A big portion of why Popcorn and why Fundraise relies on your program year, your key adventures, or maybe the old coined term is ideal year of scouting, meaning what are the programs, what are the adventures that you as the volunteers, as the unit leaders are doing for your youth, which is obviously the end goal, right? And so a lot of those of how much popcorn do I need to sell, or should I sell popcorn, or what scouts need what come from that planning. So obviously important to have those budgets made and plan for that. Important to secure storefronts, and that's coming up in the beginning of July. So we'll share more information about that as that comes out. We'll send specific info on storefronts. And another reason to register is that'll key you in to some of the really important stuff. And we don't spam you by any means, but some of the really important stuff that Trails In sends out. We can't send it to you if we don't know your email. So important to do that there. But a lot of the successful sale obviously comes from making sure that you prep. So you got to prepare your kickoff, make sure you've got your supplies needed and invest in those supplies early so that you can see success coming out of it. And prepare your scouts and family, right? That's the big portion, is making sure, especially with the advent of moving to a different vendor, we want to make sure we're setting you up for success so that when you get to your first storefront and you've got popcorn in hand, or you're at, you're knocking on the door, or a parent's knocking on the door, you're not getting blown up with phone calls. And yes, you'll always get questions, but the more that we can prepare now and just try things out, I promise the more you're going to make it easier on yourself. So getting in and doing those things early will definitely help. And motivating with incentives, whether that's, you getting duct taped to the wall, or, different things of that nature, or a derby, or going to the movies, things like that. We want to give those fun and maybe kind of goofy experiences as a motivator to the scouts on top of the things that we'll kind of hit on more that council's doing in Trails Industry as well. And then additionally, obviously you need to communicate dates with your scouts and your parents. Really important. So that's what kind of builds a successful sale. And obviously the key is prep. Similar to painting, you got to prep, and the painting portion is the easy part. So hitting on specifically budgeting and goals, right? Again, your ideal year of scouting or your ideal adventures are really the heart of really what I would assume you as unit leaders are after, right? And so identifying what those are, dues, of course, advancement supplies, things like that are important. And we've got an adventure planner that John will have available on the website for you to use and go in and calculate more about specifically what those are, and maybe things that you just haven't thought about, or as a new unit leader might want to think outside the box with. But setting those goals are really important. Budgeting for that important as well, and using some of the math that I'll share related to storefronts per hour, and then how many scouts you have. How many scouts do you think in your unit are going to sell? Right, the goal is obviously 100%. It doesn't always happen, but how many scouts are going to sell? Average nationally is about $650 per scout, right? And so how do we average that out and say, if I need to sell, $5,000 in popcorn to hit my budget, how do I accomplish that through these storefront hours being $150 per hour? Do the math on that. Or I've got X many scouts and I need to cover these. Doing the math there is really helpful and makes it a little bit easier for you. Again, estimating those storefront hours and making sure that you're ready to claim those, and setting goals and setting those availabilities for your parents and the scouts themselves. There'll be more information specifically in relation to the kernel guide for planning that gives you a more structured detail of what that looks like, and maybe a frame of reference or structure for folks looking to do that as well. So unit kickoffs, that's where I think the rubber meets the road, and that's where the top selling units that you have in your council and in your area really, really succeed and excel. And I had the privilege to talk to some of you in the past, it's been a couple weeks, it's been maybe a month, and chat through, what you do specifically. So a lot of cool stuff that we encourage you to do, but getting that buy-in from your unit is important, and that's a piece of what that looks like in the advent of getting parents and scouts involved. So build excitement, food, games, prizes, a lot of different things you can do there, of course, but the goal is to make it fun, light, get buy-in, and get people excited. And so setting goals and explaining those to your unit, not only calculating them yourself, but communicating those out to your scouts and parents and setting those goals. And especially for those that are competitive, not everyone's got that bone, but a lot are really competitive and look to succeed, right? And so giving them goals of saying, hey, if you hit this, what does that mean for the unit? What can we help do? Maybe it's a unit goal or a unit prize too, right? And then, of course, getting the app. So getting the app is that's where you start, right? So getting folks warm, and so when they're at their first storefront or knocking on the door for the first time, they've already used it and they know what it looks like and kind of a general idea of what that process looks like. So unit kickoffs really important. Make sure you get those in. When it comes to prizes, we'll kind of hit more on what those specifically look like for the council, and Trails End actually offers reward program as well. We'll hit on what those look like, and so that you've got all the tools to communicate those properly. And then training is really, really important. Now, those that have been really successful, you've heard this a million times. We don't sell popcorn, you're selling scouting. Selling scouting or fundraising for scouting, meaning the popcorn is really important, right? We want to make sure folks are getting something for their donation. But especially when it comes to storefronts, hey, do you want to buy popcorn? No, I don't want to buy popcorn. Okay, have a nice day. That's not nearly as effective as would you like to support me in scouting? Now, there are a lot of tools and trainings and small clips and videos we put on YouTube like that give you specific guides on what that looks like. But there's definitely the elements of basic blocking and tackling that we want to make sure your unit is prepared for, so that the hours and the time and the effort that you put in as the unit leader don't just go to waste, right? The last thing I want is for you to spend the time and not see the results. And so as your vendor and from the council perspective, we want you to succeed. We want this to be successful for you and not a waste of your time. And so a lot of that really does come down to training and how units and how scouts are able to communicate. And that's the fun of popcorn, is it helps kind of build that bone, that backbone, and communicating those sales skills when you're in person, right? Not just us on the screen. So a lot of that stuff's in there. We'll talk about some review dates and make sure the parents are aware of that and have everything they need when it comes to training and resources specifically. So training, support, how do I use this app? What is all this new technology that you speak of? Do I have to use it? How much do I have to use it? When do I use it? Where do I use it? All of that stuff. Great questions. And the answer is yes and no. You're not forced to use anything, but because of the technology, we've seen some really, really successful units that have just done pretty crazy numbers. And so with that, a lot of those questions will be answered through those kernel guides. A lot of that stuff's available there, and lots of questions will be answered through those resources that John will provide on the website. And then a big portion of that is through the webinars. Those come up in July. There's a site dedicated and a page dedicated to the registration for those webinars, obviously through that trails-n/webinars. And you can go in and see what time those webinars are offered. And those are live done. So you can go in and chat with the, we actually use successful unit leaders because they're the ones actually using the tech. So rather than me get on and tell you about how to use the app and the unit leader portal, we'd rather have folks that are out in the field using it every day and seeing success with it kind of give you that information and answer as well. So a lot of cool stuff when it comes to webinars, but also trainings. This is something that is super underutilized, and I am guilty of it. If I have a question it's easy for me to not look to solve it, but just to go and text my associates and say, hey, how do I fix this? And similar for John. And I love John, but I also know that John has a limited amount of time. And so it's not that he doesn't want to be on the phone with you all day or answer texts or questions or emails, but a lot of that stuff, I promise you, is available in the training tab. So I encourage you, check it out. And if you're just not getting the answer, call, text, email. I'm available 24/7. But a lot of that stuff is simple questions that you'll have kind of first, second year as you haven't used the tech a lot, right? Or if you have, it's been a few years. And so as you use that, you'll run into just things you say, hey, I wonder how I do that, or how do I fix this? A lot of that's available in the training tab. That training tab is in the Unit Leader portal, and there's a training tab for Scouts in their app. But in that training tab is PDFs, downloadable cards, table sets for advertising stuff. You can do that nature. And then there are YouTube clips that are 2 minutes long. We've got half an hour trainings, hour training. So a lot of stuff condensed into making it easier for you if you're more of a reader or a visual learner or more audio based. So a lot of cool stuff there. But I encourage you, look at it now. I don't need you to know everything by any means, and you never will. I never do. But jump into it early so you can see what that stuff looks like, and be prepared to use the resources so that you don't feel lost. We want to make sure you're successful. I think a big part of that is feeling confident in knowing what's going on. So a big portion of that all lives in the training tab. So register, check that out tonight, see what that looks like. Getting ready to sell. And we've kind of talked through a little of this already, but a big portion of the sale is just in the sales pitch, right? Whether you love sales or not, the element of sales is communication, right? And how can I communicate effectively and do it in a manner that's supportive to scouting in general? So in the theory and in the form of a perfect sales pitch, if you've heard this before, great, you're a pro. And if you haven't, this is a great example of how to effectively communicate when you're selling popcorn, when you're selling scouting, and when you're pitching the fundraising scouting. So a big portion of when you've got your youth in uniform, already thumbs up there, right? You've definitely done part one. That is the biggest portion is getting there, getting in front of the customer in the first place in uniform definitely helps. Introduce yourself, state where you're from as a scout, right? And so training your youth to do that and giving them the tools to be able to do that. Hi, I'm Connor from Unit 101. This year, I'm going to camp. I'm earning my way to summer camp. And we're also going to Jamboree, Philmont, a lot of cool stuff that you could do. But I'm earning my way to these things, right? And so can I count on you for support? Rather than the alternative of they walk by, hey, you want to buy popcorn? And so the goal is, how do we communicate the goal of scouting and ask for the support in that is, can I count on your support? And we prefer and we offer a credit card too, right? So eliminates one of those objections as well. But when it comes to the perfect sales pitch, obviously every scout's got a slightly different way they do it. And your number one selling scout I got to meet, and very, very nice young man, really well put together, very well spoken. Obviously is a great communicator and is to the point and effective in the way he communicates. And I think also a big piece of that is, he was really polite. I would notice to be kind of one of the biggest things that I probably took away from him. Is really, really polite young gentleman, and well dressed too. So when it comes to actual sales tips, is obviously wear your uniform, your Class A, and saying thank you and hello are huge to the sale, whether or not they buy something from you, right? You're representing scouting as well as a brand locally in your community. So doing that definitely helps. And kind of in the theme of sales tips and being prepared is make sure that you're logged in advance, that you're in the app, you're ready to go, so that you don't get there and feel like you don't know what's going on. The more foot traffic and the more asks, the more greater your sales. Now that's kind of an obvious, that's just a numbers game, but it definitely rings true. As inflation grows and the price of goods gets higher, what we can do and what we can control is how many people we touch and the communication. And so whether that's a storefront sale or whether it's a wagon sale or sharing online, the more that you get yourself out there and the more the scout gets herself out there, the better success they'll have, right? Obviously, knowing your products, we always encourage scouts to pick out a favorite product. So pick your favorite flavor. That's always fun and easier, more personable way to, especially to storefront. Oh, what's your favorite flavor? Popular question, right? They can point to one they like on the table, and ask the customers to support you, right? As much as we want them to buy popcorn, we want them to get something in return. We want them to support youth and their local community. So a lot of cool things when it comes to getting ready to sell. And a lot of that is crucial in the unit kickoff and just communicating that. And so the top selling units that exist within your council now do a lot of the stuff better than I just said, right? And they're pros. And communicating that effectively to the parents, to the youth, is definitely what is a huge key to that success. Trails and storefronts. Okay, so trails and storefronts. This is a tool in your tool belt to assist you in big box retailers and kind of those large retail organizations that you may have not been able to get into or have been in the past, but it's not very organized. And so there's a couple cool things we'll do, but we've been working hard in this behind the scenes. We've got a couple of callers that we actually use that work for Trails End. All they do is call retail locations and book storefront hours. So we call your local sales managers at those locations. We call at the corporate level, and we get agreements where Lowe's, Ace, Stop Shop, Walmart, corporations like that will allow scouting to come in and sell popcorn and fundraise. So a lot of questions I'm sure will pop up around that, a lot of specifics that we can get into in the future. But the gist of this program is we'll help come in and book and call and do kind of some of the grunge work, right, of getting those in, and you'll be able to go in and reserve those. Now, the biggest piece of this for me is we're pretty good at this program. Been doing this for a few years now. Have never had a council stop using the program. So it's definitely a net positive. The challenge is, as good as Trails End can be, we're never going to know all of the mom and pop locations where you're at. And Google's great. It's got a lot of analytics, but it doesn't tell everything, right? We just might not know about that small DIY store or the convenience store down the road or on the corner that's really popular in town that just doesn't come up on Google or through analytic research. And so as we go into the sale this year, I still absolutely encourage book the locations that you've booked in the past. And if it's on our booking list, which we'll release, you don't need to worry about it. But if it's not, continue to book that and continue to work those relationships that you have in your community, because we don't want to harm those. We want to add on top of what you're already doing to give you more options. So that's not to say we won't know who those are in the future, but continue to book those. So when it comes to trails and storefronts, we've kind of hit on most of these topics already, but basically we book the retailers for you, right? And so not everyone, right? There'll still be a number of retailers that you'll have the option to communicate and book and add to the system in the unit leader portal yourself. But we've got some reservation rules that have worked really well and have been successful for, I think we work with 150 councils now, roughly. So of roughly 250. So we worked with a lot of councils, and here are rules for this year, the way that we'll roll these out. So day one, we roll these out in picks, right? So think of it almost as like a draft where you go in, and we understand we don't want anyone to be able to go in and claim and just reserve all the hours. We want to make sure this is equitable for everyone involved. So we delineate that and disseminate that in dollars, and you get a certain allotment of picks, and that filters out per day. And so the last day, everyone's able to go in and pick as much as they need to. And John and I will keep an eye on those. We don't want anyone going in and reserving the whole council, right? And so we need some cooperation, a little bit of trust. I need from you on your end to trust that this will work, but also some communication and some goodwill where nobody's going in and claiming everything. We want everyone to go in and have a great sale, right? But we also need to make sure we understand that these hours are limited. And we want to make sure that we kind of spread the wealth, so to speak. So that's what Trails End storefront booking looks like. We'll get into during the training what that looks like in the system, but some really cool stuff when it comes to you being able to do that a lot more efficiently. And so when you're booking storefronts and when you're calling your local businesses, you'll be able to input those in the system for only your unit to see, where you can go in and add those, and scouts will still have the option to go in and register. A lot of cool stuff goes into managing those storefronts. You can actually manage your inventory at each storefront. If you've got multiple storefronts happening in the same weekend, you can manage inventory between those or separately. You can split up how those dollars get credited to scouts, or if it gets credited to the whole unit, or if it gets credited per shift. A lot of cool stuff there. And as the gears start turning, think about those things. And when you go to those webinars, great place to ask. But also, I'll plug it again, get in the system and register, because you can see today what all those splits look like. You could set it up right now while I'm talking. So a lot of that cool stuff exists there, and that's where you'll be able to see a lot of what that looks like. But we do a lot of stuff when it comes to analyzing. We encourage you to do that as well with analytics. But a lot of you have those relationships and spots you're probably thinking of that you've used before. And if you're a new unit that hasn't sold before, or if you're a new unit leader or popcorn kernel, that's where you can kind of lean on the Trails and Booked Hours as you figure out in tandem what locations you might use, or local businesses you might talk to. So again, a lot of those success stories with top selling units that we see, I'll tell this story. It's not relatable, but I love telling it anyways. And I'm just being honest. Our storefront liaison, or the head of our storefront program, is Becky Hall out in California. And she's a unit leader, and for years didn't work for Trails End, but sold our popcorn. And a few years ago, sold over $220,000 in popcorn. That's a lot of popcorn. And so not every unit leader is like her. I don't know if we want everyone to be. She is ferocious. But all that to say, she works for Trails End now. She was so good that we said, hey, we can't, we need you to show us how this works. And so she actually was instrumental in building out the storefront program, and building out the site, right? How that works, what the UI looks like, how you book, splitting the shifts, things like that. And a lot of the stuff is thanks to her. So I'm excited for you to get in the system and look at all those bits and pieces. But a lot of that comes from her. And so with that, a lot of that success has come from those top selling unit leaders like her. And it obviously goes down the chain as well. But doing that in tandem, where you're using storefront hours that are booked by Trails End, and additionally using the system, taking credit cards, and then booking your own, is how we see a lot of success. Now, when it comes to booking your own, if you're a new unit leader or a new popcorn kernel, the biggest tips that I can give you are make sure you visit in uniform with a scout, if possible, would be preferable, to those locations that you're looking to interact with. Talk to the manager, see if you can get booking there. Not everyone's going to say yes, right? It's a numbers game as well. And putting forth the effort and trying to do that ahead of time now is a good time to start prepping, rather than waiting till middle of July. So getting that in and getting granted, obviously having those details, adding those, taking those down, and then adding them to the system makes it a lot easier to stay organized in that sense, and makes your life a little bit simpler. But moral of the story here is, we'll book storefront hours for you in tandem with the ones that you book on your own. And I think this will be a really big success story for you this year, to again help you sell the same, if not more, and fundraise more than you have in the past with less time and less effort is our goal. If we can get you back to the platform of scouting, and make the fundraising easy, hopefully make it an easy one fundraiser a year, or even two, is preferably what we want to do to help you get back to the youth programs in the first place. So products, this is the fun part. So we've got a really, really heavy list of the heavy hitters, so to speak. So what that means for us, we've got a lot of national data when it comes to Trails End. We actually manufacture for companies like Walmart, Costco, things of that nature. So as we produce bulk product for those industries and those manufacturers and those retailers, we've got a lot of internal data that we're able to translate to products that folks want to sell. Now, popcorn is important, and a big piece of the fundraising is how do we convert the most potential customers to customers? How do we get the most yeses? And so this list represents success in gaining the most yeses. So we've got sweet and salty kettle all the way up to your sea salt combo Venbox and everything in between. We'll get you some specific details on those sizes, and I think some of that's was shared in terms of ounces and bowl fills and cup sizes and all that. But what's new for us this year is we haven't had s'mores before. So we've had the chocolatey pretzels, and it's good. It's a bit addicting, but the challenge with that is the pretzels melt. And so unfortunately, we can't control the weather. We don't want to send you bricks of melted chocolate pretzels. And so we've come out with a s'mores flavor, which is a good kind of stopgap. Now, it's not real chocolate in the sense of coated in meltable chocolate, but it's that general chocolate flavor that you'll have that's table stable and shelf stable from day one, meaning you can order that for your show and sell and offer that throughout the sale. So nice to see there. And then sea salt, which is the same flavor category as Skinny Pop, is something new for us this year. We're offering a Venbox, which is good for corporate gifts, folks that like shopping in bulk, and then those folks that like supporting at a higher level. Now, we understand not everyone's supporting at $50. Totally recognize that. But for those that do, this is the flavor profile that's really, really popular, and I think you'll have really good success with. When it comes to the top three, they may vary from unit to unit. But traditionally, caramel has been really popular because of its price point. Unfortunately, it's kind of falling off in terms of popularity. Folks are really moving to savory and more healthy style flavors, for better or for worse. We see kettle as a huge, huge piece of our sale. It's about 20-25%, depending on the unit. White cheddar is significantly grown year over year. And then your microwave butter, your microwave popcorn, is traditionally number one or two. So those are the big three that we call the most popular in the sale, with the others additionally to support those. If somebody doesn't like those three flavors, they've got other options. But the nice part about this is we want to make sure we're converting and we're getting the most yeses with the most effective flavors that consumers are actually purchasing. Nothing against any of the maybe niche or unique flavors, but we want to make sure you've got what's on the table that's effective, that you can get there in an efficient manner so you don't have 50 million products. And additionally, you're getting yeses at the time of the sale. So really exciting when it comes to traditional products. And the next we have our online as well. So online, a couple things we do differently there, some specific or unique flavors or different products that we come out with. And these get updated every year to offer potentially additional things. Those snowflake pretzels and peppermint bark are holiday specific, so we'll send out information through the online Facebook portal as we get closer to the holidays when those become available. And then there are a number of other things that we offer online in tandem with the other products that you saw for the traditional sale as well. So some stuff we do unique there. And if you want to sell those online directly when you're in person, you can use the app, hit the online, and ship them directly to their house. Or you can use the standard method where you're sharing your Scout page link and, grandma can fill that out at home. So rewards. Rewards is a huge part of the Trails End culture and the app. So rewards are where Scouts can earn points towards Amazon gift cards that they can use to purchase whatever they want, including what's on the screen. So no longer limited to a prize program of in-person gifts where things might get broken and there are limited selections. Now the Scout can earn rewards towards whatever they want to use those for, and see those live accumulating through the app. So there are a couple pieces that we use here. We don't go based off of dollars, we go based off of points. So with that points tree or points scale, you can see what a reward or gift card is eligible to be earned. Now, what that also means is we've got bonus points that we give out for online sales and then any card-based sales, credit or debit, through the app. Meaning you can get actually 1.25, an extra 25%. So some cool stuff that we do there, and some pretty interesting points, some pretty high achieving Scouts. And you can see if you calculate based on last year, what your top scouts would have gotten, and then what they can use towards with those rewards. So that's what the reward program looks like. It's available through the app. Now, a big portion of what rewards look like, we understand there's some pros and cons to everything, right? But a big challenge in the past has been, and we hear this from unit leaders, nothing necessarily intrinsically wrong with physical prizes, but it's definitely a challenge in terms of managing that. It's additional work for the unit leader to close out the program, to close out the fundraiser. Things can get broken, or somebody gets something they didn't necessarily want, or gets confused. A lot of that stuff is eliminated with the process of online rewards and the program, the way that it works. So as a scout, I earn, let's call it $30 in gift cards. I earn $30 in gift cards that accumulates in my scout app. And then you as the unit leader are authorized and have all the power to go in and submit the rewards. Those get confirmed through Amazon, and that code generates for the scout in the app, meaning it kind of takes out the need for you to have to manage and be on top of who's got what when, and they can actually see the history of all their codes and manage all that themselves. You don't have to be directly linked to that in that sense. In terms of the actual in-person excitement, what successful unit leaders traditionally do is have at the end of the year, or at the end of that last final get-together between scouts and parents, is bring in what you got from your rewards, bring in what you got from Amazon, show that off, kind of similar to a show and tell. So some really cool stuff there. And as we get into the sale and as you have more questions, a lot of that's answered through the specific resources and guides. You can kind of see a mock-up of what that looks like. But there's a tab in the unit leader portal that's specifically for rewards. You can see all the information delineated there. And then as a parent or as a scout, you can go in and click on the rewards tab, which actually will populate images of the most popular items for youth available through this system there as well.
Thank you, Connor. Thank you so much for all that information. Lots to digest, and we'll have a chance to ask questions in a moment. But I want to talk about the commissions for the popcorn sale coming up. So everyone can earn up to 35% commission this year. The first one is the base commission. So if you don't do anything else, you just sell popcorn, you don't attend anything or do anything, you get 30%. And then the rest, congratulations, everyone on this call, you get 1%. So you're already at 31% for sales commission. And then the next points we have is 2% if 80% of your sale is done through the Trails End app. So that's really important. Our goal is to gear as much of our sales through the app, and it just makes it easier to track. And we'll be able to tell if 80% of your sales was through the app, right, Connor? Pretty easily. So there's nothing too crazy there to figure out when the time comes to assign a commission. And then the last part to earn the next 2% is to increase your sale 10% over last year. And if you have a question of how much you sold last year, I do have that information from last year's sale, so I can send that to you. So 10% over last year, you get an extra 2% commission. Online sales commission, this is a flat 30%. Yeah, so that is the commission structure for 2023. Next thing I'd like to talk about is our council incentives. What we wanted to beef up our incentives for scouts this year. So this is the plan. So the top seller for popcorn for the sale will be getting a PlayStation 5. So make sure you tell your scouts that the top seller will get this awesome game system, and really looking forward to giving that out. And then we have for our second and third place top sellers, they both will be getting a Nintendo Switch. And from what I understand, Eric is going to register himself as a youth so he can sell popcorn and get a Nintendo Switch. So definitely these are our big prizes council-wide. Really looking forward to seeing the results of that. Next, we are having a victory party at the Regal Cinemas in Fishkill. It's going to be in the winter. More details are going to come soon. We're looking at movies, maybe movies premiering, and there's not a whole lot of information yet. It's going to be sometime in the winter. So any scouts that sell over $1,250 can attend the popcorn victory party. We're going to have raffles, lots of fun stuff going on there. So please make sure you look out for that information regarding that. There is another incentive that we are working on that involves the membership fee and things like that. I wish I could tell you more about it, but we don't have the next year's membership fee nailed down yet. So as soon as that information comes out, I'm looking to add another level of council wide incentive that is very beneficial for your families. Next, I want to talk about the sales specifics for our council. So the due dates, show and sell. It's coming up. The system's going to open up on July 1st. You're going to be able to get in there, take a look, and play around with that. And then we have to have our show and sell order in by August 4th. Take orders October 15th, and that's when it opens. And then November 3rd is the day, excuse me, that we need to have your take order order in, and then we'll have delivery in November. So on August 26th, that's Saturday, August 26th, we are going to be distributing show and sell, and we moved up the take order distribution to November again. We're no longer in December. We're back at that November date. So please mark your calendars. Those are both Saturdays, Saturday, August 26th and November 18th for distribution. The distribution locations, this is what we're planning on. Looks like we have a warehouse, just trying to dot the I's and cross the T's of a location in Poughkeepsie. And then we're going to be also having distribution sites at Iona Prep, Camp Bullowa, and in Middletown. So other important dates. I believe I read this right, Connor, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to have on July 15th, the storefronts information available. Our sale begins August 28th, because that's when you pick up your popcorn. Last day to return the wagon or the show and sell delivery inventory is Sunday, October 29th. And just so you know, we can only accept 10% of your order for returns this year. And the last storefront sale is October 28th. That's Saturday. Final orders are due November 3rd, and final payment and final payment is due November 18th, which is the same day that we're distributing. So please mark your calendars for that. So for kernels, make sure you have your checklist. We talked a lot about this stuff already, but this is a great backdating calendar. So July and August, you want to attend webinars, learn all about it, join the Facebook group, hold your unit kickoff September. Remember, it is recruiting season, and make sure you check out the council calendar. Communicate with your unit and motivate your scouts. Tell them about that PlayStation 5 and the Nintendo Switches. And then in October, that's when we're wrapping up the sale and doing all that great stuff. And of course, celebrate your success. I heard Connor say something about duct taping someone to a wall. Never heard of that. I think we can volunteer Eric to be duct taped to the wall if we reach a certain level of sales.
I'll buy the duct tape.
Great. Thank you, Connor. All right. Yes. And lastly, again, this is the staff. What we'd love you to do is to send all your popcorn related emails to ghv.popcorn@scouting.org. That email is then there's a bunch of us that see that email. We can answer your questions, and check out ghvbsa.org/popcorn. I am going to be updating that site with all this stuff we were just talking about. This recording, the slides will be there for reference, and more information there. And also, don't forget to join the Facebook group. It's a great group. I love it. I get a lot of ideas from there. And it's I don't know, there's like 20,000 people in it, right, Connor, or something like that?
I think we're over 30 now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and so really great resources. You can go in there, ask questions. And so thank you so much for coming. I'm going to open up for questions and answers. But one thing I do want to ask, I got a bunch of text messages and emails throughout the meeting. And Connor, hopefully you can answer this for us. I have leaders, they're trying to register through Trails End. They're using their old login information. And we, correct me if I'm wrong, but we wiped that clean, right?
Yep, you'll want to use new info. Yep, as if you knew. I know if you've used it before, you're not new. Welcome back. But
welcome. Yes.
To make it simple as possible, yeah, use new info if you would.
And the reason, we lots of things have changed since 2020. We're a new council. So we're coming back and for the purpose of merging the old Hudson Valley Council and Westchester Putnam Council into the Greater Hudson Valley Council. We had to start new with new logins and all that good stuff.